July 2018 arrived with heat shimmering over stone and road. On Wednesday the 4th, Laura phoned her friend Sabina, excited about a short retreat. 2 days in the mountains, easy trails, cold streams, and picnic meals where her son, Caleb, could laugh without the noise of the city. The area they chose was known for its beauty and danger. Narrow gorges, sudden drops, waterfalls that roared louder than traffic. For newcomers, it was easy to get lost. Wanting to keep things simple, especially with a 4-year-old, they asked around for a local guide. The same name kept coming up: Malchus Carberry, a 19-year-old shepherd. Not a native, but familiar with every bend and rise of the valley. He was known as quiet, steady, respectful. Locals trusted him with livestock and directions alike. Ryan and Laura Smith trusted him too. They hired him for 2 days, paying in cash and friendliness. The group set out that afternoon, following the ridgeline until trees thinned and wind smelled faintly of metal and pine. They stopped by a clearing where cold water pooled and light slanted gold through the leaves. Ryan unpacked food. Laura helped Caleb skip stones across the stream. The sound of laughter mingled with the drone of insects and the soft bleat of sheep in the distance. It was a picture of calm, ordinary happiness, the kind of day people take for granted, unaware that memory is already turning it into a before. That was when Ryan noticed the weapon. Malchus carried a rifle, not uncommon for shepherds who dealt with wolves or stray dogs, but something about the way he held it, too casual, barrel angled wrong, made Ryan uneasy. He approached, polite at first, then firm. "Please, keep it pointed down. The rocks are slick. My boy is close." A small request. But the tone shifted, sharp as flint. Witnesses would later say there was no shouting, no overt threat, just tension, sudden and brittle. Pride met caution and refused to bend. A few words too many, a heartbeat too long. Investigators would later describe it simply: a small thing became everything. What happened next would later be reconstructed from forensic mapping, ballistic patterns, and the echoes of witness testimony. There was no clear warning, no drawn-out argument or visible threat. It happened the way avalanches start, quietly, then all at once. Investigators believe the exchange between Ryan and Malchus lasted less than a minute. Ryan's tone grew firm. The young man's stance hardened. Pride is volatile in the thin air of confrontation. According to forensic timing, the first shot came from less than 3 meters away. It struck Ryan Smith in the temple, ending his movement instantly. A second round followed. Autopsy reports marked the path: upper back, downward trajectory, fired as he was already falling. The sound fractured the valley. One echo met another, ricocheting from stone to water. Then silence pressed in, thick as dust. Laura screamed. Not words, just a raw, torn sound that didn't stop. Caleb began to cry, startled, confused, reaching for her. The shepherd turned. Witnesses would never see this moment, but crime scene evidence showed he reloaded. One more shot cracked through the gorge. It struck small, low, and final. The echo didn't come back. Laura froze. For seconds, she stood rooted, unable to process that the mountain she had chosen for peace had become a graveyard. When movement returned, it wasn't thought, it was instinct. She ran. Through brush, across slick stone, following the stream's path toward open sky. Behind her, the shepherd's boots followed. Investigators would later piece together her final run. Torn branches, a trail of blood, scattered pebbles leading toward the lip of a waterfall. There, at the edge, she stopped. Ahead, only air. Below, the crash of water against rock. The official report states that Malchus caught up, that he threatened her at gunpoint, that he used violence to silence her before pushing her into the void. Her body was found later at the pool below, face turned upward, as if still asking why. When night fell, the mountain changed character. The same slopes that had shimmered in daylight now swallowed sound. Under that darkness, the shepherd dug. Soil turned under his hands, patient, methodical. He hid the firearm, then the boy. He covered the ground with leaves and stones, the same way one hides something valuable or shameful. At dawn, he walked down the mountain path. Locals passed him, an ordinary young man returning from grazing. He nodded. They nodded back. By then, the stream had already carried away most of the blood. The mountain looked clean again.
By Thursday morning, July 5th, the silence had begun to stretch. Sabina checked her phone again. Still nothing. Laura was usually quick to send photos. Caleb's smile by the water. Ryan's awkward grin beside the tent. Instead, there was only absence. She called once. No answer. Then again. By midday, she dialed both numbers. Ryan's went straight to voicemail. Laura's rang, then stopped. At first, Sabina told herself the signal in the mountains was bad. By nightfall, unease began to harden. On Friday, July 6th, that unease became action. At 8:40 a.m., Sabina filed a missing persons report with the Center for Rapid Response and Emergency Situations. Her account was clear. An American couple and their 4-year-old son had gone hiking with a local guide and never returned. Within the hour, a 15-person search team mobilized: police, mountain rangers, 2 dogs, and a drone unit. The command post was set near the trailhead where the Smiths' rental car was soon found. The windshield carried a thin layer of dust. Inside were maps, half-empty water bottles, a child's hat, and the faint smell of sunscreen. Footprints led away from the site. 3 adult sets and 1 small pattern in the dust. The trail grew narrow and steep, carved between rock faces where voices echoed like ghosts. By late afternoon, as the sun dropped behind the ridge, rescuers reached the gorge where the waterfall's roar grew into a steady, all-consuming noise. It was there that the first discovery came. At 18:22 hours, 2 rescuers noticed bright fabric snagged near the riverbank, part of a red hiking jacket. Beneath it, the body of a woman. She was found face up in shallow water, her arms bent unnaturally, one hand still clenched around a piece of cloth later identified as part of Caleb's shirt. Her injuries matched a fall from height. The discovery changed the search's tone instantly, from rescue to recovery. The team expanded its radius, combing through steep ravines and dense brush under a sky thick with heat. Less than 2 hours later, roughly 800 meters downstream, they found Ryan. He lay half-covered by leaves and soil, a small indentation marking where his body had settled. Spent casings were recovered nearby, matched later to a .22 caliber rifle. Caleb was still missing. Search efforts intensified through the night. Thermal drones swept the slopes. Dogs followed faint traces. Locals joined in. Farmers, hikers, even a few tourists who had heard the news. The mountain that had been silent for days now carried the sound of human movement. Shouts, radio static, the hum of engines. By Saturday morning, the search line moved uphill. Near a cluster of rocks and shallow soil, a rescue dog began to dig. Beneath roughly 30 centimeters of earth, under a thin cover of branches, they found what they were looking for, and what they had hoped not to find. Caleb's small body, carefully wrapped in a shepherd's cloak. Beside him lay the missing rifle, its serial number filed away. The mountain was quiet again. The case, however, had just begun. The investigation opened officially on July 7, 2018, led by Inspector Thomas Varga of the Regional Police. Within hours of the recovery, all evidence pointed to one name, Malchus Carberry, the 19-year-old shepherd last seen guiding the Smith family into the mountains. His disappearance that same morning turned a tragedy into a manhunt. Posters went up across nearby villages. Roadblocks were set along the main routes to the lowlands. Forensic teams began their work in silence. The rifle found buried beside the child was a standard hunting model, a .22 caliber Remington, registered under a neighbor's name but reported borrowed months earlier by Malchus. 2 shell casings recovered near Ryan Smith's body matched perfectly, the ballistic grooves aligned without doubt. Blood traces on the weapon confirmed multiple victims, including a small genetic sample later matched to Caleb. Autopsy reports constructed the order of death with clinical precision. Ryan's injuries were instantaneous, one shot to the temple, another as he fell. Laura's injuries were mixed, bruising around the wrists, consistent with restraint, followed by blunt trauma from the fall. Toxicology found no substances. Everything pointed to force and gravity alone. The boy's cause of death was a single gunshot wound to the chest. The timeline, according to forensic reconstruction, fit within 25 minutes.
The motive, however, remained elusive. No robbery, no history of violence. Malchus had no criminal record, no known mental illness. Interviews with locals painted him as reserved, hard-working, strange sometimes, but not dangerous. Then came small inconsistencies. One villager recalled his resentment toward tourists. Another mentioned a heated argument with a foreign hiker weeks earlier. A store clerk remembered him purchasing ammunition days before the killings. It was thin, but enough to build a psychological profile. A young man with pride worn thin, prone to brooding, triggered by perceived disrespect. 4 days after the discovery, on July 10th, police received a call from a railway employee. A disoriented man had boarded a freight train heading south, barefoot, with dried mud on his clothes. Officers intercepted the train at the next stop. Malchus surrendered quietly. No chase, no resistance. He simply asked for water. Interrogation began that evening. For 12 hours, he spoke little. At first, denial, then fragments. He claimed Ryan had insulted him, grabbed the rifle that the gun discharged by accident. But forensic evidence told otherwise. 2 aimed shots, deliberate spacing, controlled trigger pull. Under pressure, his composure cracked. He admitted to panicking, to trying to stop Laura from screaming, to hiding the bodies so the animals wouldn't get them. His tone never changed. Flat, detached. The confession was enough. Within 2 weeks, charges were filed. 3 counts of murder, possession of an unlicensed firearm, and concealment of bodies. The trial began that November, held in the regional court before a silent public gallery. The prosecution presented ballistic evidence, timeline reconstructions, and forensic photographs that silenced even the press. The defense argued diminished capacity, youth, isolation, psychological instability. The verdict came after 6 days of testimony, guilty on all counts. The sentence, life imprisonment without parole. The judge's final words lingered in the courtroom. You took 3 lives in a place meant for peace. The mountain will remember, even if you forget. Malchus showed no reaction. He looked straight ahead as the guards led him away. Outside, the wind moved through the pines, carrying the echo of everything lost. In the weeks after the verdict, the mountain grew quiet again, but not untouched. The village, once a dot of serenity for travelers and hikers, became a place spoken of in lowered voices. Tourists stopped coming. Locals began to avoid the gorge after dusk, saying the air there felt heavier, as if it remembered too much. At the base of the waterfall, someone left a small wooden cross with 3 names carved into it: Ryan, Laura, Caleb. No one claimed it, but flowers appeared beside it every few days. Reporters called the case the Shepherd Murders, though locals refused that name. They preferred silence. In interviews, they spoke of confusion more than hatred. He wasn't like that, one said. He worked hard, quiet boy. Maybe something broke. That sentence, maybe something broke, appeared again and again in articles, police notes, even psychological evaluations. Experts debated the same question. Was this a crime of sudden rage or slow disintegration? Psychologists studying the case described Malchus as emotionally stunted, shaped by isolation and the long loneliness of the mountains. They spoke of latent resentment, the kind that simmers unseen until a single moment of confrontation tips it over. There was no evidence of planning, no history of abuse, only a fragile ego sharpened by solitude. Pride, in this reading, was both his identity and his undoing. The weapon merely carried what was already festering. For the families back home, grief became a ritual of its own. Ryan's parents flew in from California for the trial, stoic and hollow-eyed. Laura's sister refused interviews but released a single statement. They loved the quiet. It's cruel that quiet took them. Caleb's room remained untouched, his toys arranged on a low shelf, each one now an artifact of something impossibly small and irretrievable. Months later, the rescue team that found them returned to the site for a brief memorial. The same sound of water filled the gorge, steady and indifferent. One of the rangers said afterward, "You'd never know anything happened here." That's the worst part. And maybe that's the truth of it. The mountain did not change. The grass grew back where blood once soaked. The stream still reflected sunlight. Only the people carried the memory, private, unbearable, invisible. In the end, the story of July 4th was not only about death, but about the delicate line between civility and collapse. About how quickly peace can fracture, how pride can ignite violence, how love can turn into loss in the space of a single heartbeat. The investigators closed their files. The court sealed its records. And high above, where the air still smells of pine and stone, the wind moves through the gorge, whispering what no one can prove, but everyone feels. That some echoes never stop. If this story moved you, don't let it fade when the screen goes dark. Share it, not as gossip, but as a reminder of how fragile human judgment can be when isolation, pride, and silence collide. These weren't strangers in a faraway tragedy. They were people seeking peace, doing something any family might do, stepping into nature to breathe. What followed was a lesson in how one moment, one decision, can tear the thread of ordinary life beyond repair. If you found this account meaningful, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-world investigations that uncover the human stories behind the headlines. Every view, every share helps keep these stories remembered, not lost to time or rumor. Tell me in the comments what struck you most, the psychology, the investigation, or the haunting quiet that followed. Because remembering is how we make sense of what's left behind.